Welcome back to another episode of the Bright Ideas Podcast. I am your host, Trent Deersmid, and I am here to help you discover what is working in e-commerce by shining a light on the tools, the tactics, and the strategies that are in use by today's leading entrepreneurs. And joining me on the show today, who I'll introduce just after we get through our sponsor message, is a woman by the name of Ilana Wechsler. I know I'm butchering it, aren't I? Wechsler. There we go. Who I met at a conference that I attended recently, and I was super impressed with her particular body of knowledge. So before we get into that, let me just quickly bring you a message from our sponsor for this episode. The company is ahrefs.com, spelled ahrefs.com, and they are a well-known SEO tool. So prior to discovering their tool, I have to admit I was not much of a fan of SEO. I thought it was too technical. I thought I was too late to the game. I didn't think that I would ever get any results. And now that I've had the opportunity to use their tool for the last couple of months, I have been absolutely amazed at how powerful it is and how much data that I now have easy access to. And let me just say, I love having easy access to data that allows me to make really good decisions. For example, if I want to know which keywords are driving traffic to a competitor's website, no problem at all. I can get that. If I want to know how to improve the ranking of my YouTube videos, check, I can do that. If I want to easily perform detailed keyword research to identify important phrases that I should be using as the foundation of my cornerstone content, check, I can easily do that. And if I also want to see maybe some of the most popular pages of one of my competitors' websites, again, I can do that. And you can do a lot more than that. So it is an amazing all-in-one SEO tool, and it is far more than just a tool for getting backlinks, which is what some people who maybe haven't used it might think. So if you want to grow traffic to your website and you want to do it from an organic perspective, Ahrefs has absolutely everything you need, from keyword research to content research to rank tracking and site audits, and the whole works. They have just launched the beta for a new Keywords Explorer with 9 additional sources of data. Plus, they have rebuilt the entire thing with new technology. So now we have data for YouTube, Amazon, Bing, Yahoo, Yandex, Baidu, and a number of other places other than Google. So if you aren't yet using it as part of your traffic generation strategy, you are seriously missing out, and I highly recommend that you go give their tool a try. You can sign up for a trial for just $7 on their website, and that's ahrefs.com. All right, Ilana, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. This is our second attempt, and hopefully this time we won't have any problems and nobody's got a cold and so forth. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Although I do have a puppy on my lap, so we'll see how we go. Let's not get ahead of ourselves a little bit.
This is true. This is true. Let's hope the puppy sleeps. All right. So for the people who, I didn't know who you were, obviously, before we met at the conference. For the people who don't know who you are or aren't familiar with your work, let's start there. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, cool. So firstly, thanks for having me on your show. It's a real honor to be here. So my name is Ilana, as you introduced me, and I guess for the last 7 years have run a PPC agency, so pay-per-click marketing agency, where that's all I did basically for 7 years for clients. Mm-hmm. Managed literally millions of dollars every year on behalf of people. So I would say that I'm a bit of an expert in the world of pay-per-click marketing, so be it Google ads and Facebook ads, and just sort of, I just thought I'd specialize in buying traffic. And so I ran an agency for about 7 years, and now I'm focusing completely on teaching other people how to do exactly what I did in my agency for people.
And that's when I say I met Ilana at a conference, I was in the audience after, I think you spoke before me or after me, I don't really remember, but I was sitting in on your talk, and I was sufficiently impressed with your particular body of knowledge around the Google Display Network, the things that you'd accomplished, that I really wanted to get you on the show. So thank you for coming. How did you get started with online marketing? And if I think I might have had a small little role in that or something. I can't
You
remember
totally did.
exactly.
Yeah, for your listeners. So I come from a corporate background. I actually used to be a data analyst in the corporate world in sort of funds management. And, it's funny that these things, like if you would have told me in 10 years' time I'd be sitting here recording a podcast with you, I never would have believed anyone, because it certainly wasn't part of my life plan. But I left corporate world. I'm kind of not the typical story of I hated my job and I dreamt of starting my own business. On the contrary, actually, I loved my work and I loved my job and I had every intention of staying. But my life took a bit of a left turn when I had my first child. And for any of your female listeners who are working in a full-time job, in Australia, it's particularly hard to work part-time and also bring up a child. So I made the easy yet difficult decision to let go of my corporate career and spark another journey. And that's actually when I discovered you, Trent, when I was trying to navigate the world of online marketing and came across your very old website. Now I know that apparently doesn't exist anymore. And I was following your work, and it was such a amazing situation in Miami. After my talk, you came up to me, and I didn't know what you looked like, but I knew your name. And so you came up to me after my talk, and I saw your name tag, and I'm like, oh, I know you. And it was like a real completing the loop or closing the loop, whatever they say, where it's like, wow, like I used to follow this guy, and I used to, follow your journey and seek your help in navigating the online marketing world. And then there you were in my talk. It was really quite a surreal experience. So yes, you definitely played a role. But I tried lots of different things online, failed at lots of different things, we should say more specifically. But I started kind of, because I thought, well, what are my skills? I had a lot of very good Excel skills. So I thought that's what I'm going to start doing. So I put an ad on what's called Gumtree here in Australia, which is kind of like the US equivalent of Craigslist, offering my Excel help. And to my surprise, people responded to my ad asking for help with Excel and building. I used to build macros and link it with databases. It was quite complicated stuff I used to do. And to my surprise, I got work. And then so I thought, well, I've got a business here. So I thought, I need a website. So I bought excelhelp.com.au. And to my also surprise, no one came to my website. So honestly, that sparked the journey of trying to get people to my excelhelp.com.au. And that's how I found you. And as they say, the rest is history.
All right. So you decided to focus yourself on buying paid traffic from I think, very, very early on in your journey. And you've been focused on that one singular goal, I think, ever since, if I remember correctly.
I actually tried affiliate marketing. And
oh, you did?
I did, but I failed miserably. Then I mastered SEO, and I basically mastered keyword research and SEO, and that's where I really cut my teeth on keyword research. And then that kind of stopped working, or I just didn't like that game anymore. And then I flipped the equation. So I was a publisher where I had Google ads on my site, hence the SEO and keyword research. Google did an algorithm update which impacted me negatively, and I thought, oh, to hell with this cat and mouse game. And then I thought, instead of being enemies with Google, I want to be friends with Google. So I flipped the equation and then focus solely on pay-per-click marketing.
And of all of the various pay-per-click channels, I know your talk was about the Google Display Network. Was that the channel that you paid more attention to, or is that just in the last few years, was that your focus? Yeah,
well, once again, that my journey in the pay-per-click land has also been a journey of discovery. So when I started my agency 7 odd years ago, it was only a Google Ads agency or an AdWords agency. So I really picked up Google search network really quickly because of my keyword research background. And what happens is when you can buy search traffic profitably, you get to a point where you're like, great, this is working. I want to buy more traffic. But the problem with search is it works very well and it converts very well, but you max out of that. You buy all that profitable traffic. And so when you have a conversation with the client, they go, great, we would like to spend more. Well, I say, well, I can't make more people search for things. We've bought all the profitable traffic that there is. We need to go to the next phase, and that's kind of where the Google Display Network came into it. And I have spent a lot of time and money mastering it, but it really is an amazing aspect to the Google ad platform, which is not very popular. And I think people have become quite scared from it, or scared with it, and therefore kind of left it alone, which has kind of been my secret weapon, because, you know, if no one's really doing it, it's really, really cheap, right? And it doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It just means that people can't figure it out. So once I kind of cracked the code with it as such, I really kind of doubled down on it, and I started offering it for lots of my clients, and we saw some really good results. So it was the next logical extension once we nailed Google search, to see if we could get the display network to work for their business. So that's kind of how I got into it.
So for the folks who, when they hear the term Google Display Network, think, well, what the hell is that? Let's start there.
Okay, so it's essentially putting a banner on somebody else's website. So a publisher, so New York Times, for example, they allow Google ads on their website. So you can't put a banner on anyone's website. That particular website owner needs to create a relationship with Google whereby they say, yes, Google, you can have a certain number of ad spots on our website. And then when people visit their website and click on that ad, that particular publisher gets paid. So there's literally over 2 million websites that allow Google ads on their site, by which you are able to put an ad on there. So for example, if I wanted to advertise my teachtraffic.com business, right, and I want to advertise on the New York Times, instead of me having to go directly to the NewYorkTimes.com, I simply go to Google and say, hey Google, all your relationships that you've got with these publishers, then I can get access to all of them simply through the Google ad platform.
And it's traditional bid for exposure marketing. You're bidding on that particular, or actually, how does it work? Because you can't say, hey, I want to be on the New York Times site.
You can.
You can?
You can, yeah. And you elect how much you're willing to pay to be on there, and subject to a lot of factors. It depends how much you pay, but it's a simply put, it's effectively an auction. So how much you pay is contingent on how many other people want to be there, based on lots of factors.
So with 2 million sites in their network, reviewing each of the 2 million to say, I want this one and this one and this one, would be a bit of a laborious process, to say the least. So from your experience, what have you learned as the ideal way to figure out, well, which sites should I be on?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I can just explain sort of a bit of a helicopter view of how, if you're an advertiser, if you're an advertiser, how do you decide where you want your ads to be? And how you decide pretty much is broken down into two distinct categories. The first category is what's called by the content on that particular website. Is it a blog talking about certain information? So say I'm interested in cooking, right? And which I am. And therefore, if I sell a cooking related product, I want my banner to be on cooking related websites, irrespective of who that person is reading that website. The mere fact that they are reading a recipe or a cooking demonstration article would deem them to be interested in cooking, because why else would they be on that website, right?
Yep.
So I can choose websites based on the content or the keywords or the topics, right? And a completely other side of targeting on the display network is nothing to do with the words on the page, but all about who you are as a person. So much kind of like Facebook ads where
Mm-hmm.
you target about the individual, or what's called identity-based marketing. It's the same on the Google Display Network, where you can target based on who someone is. So, for example, Google, everyone talks about Facebook having insane amounts of data on people. Well, let me tell you, Google have just as much, if not more. They've been buying credit card data for as long as we can remember. They know when I'm going to buy something pretty much before I know I'm going to buy something. How do they know? They've got a huge ability to access data. If you think about it, they own, obviously, Google.com, so they own the search network.
Mm-hmm.
They own Google Chrome, so they own that browser, tracking all my browsing behavior. They own Gmail, so they can scan through my Gmail. It's pretty scary when you start to think about it. They own YouTube, which a lot of people go to YouTube to access information, and is, you know, boasted as being the world's second largest search engine. They own Google Apps for Business. They own the Pixel phone. So their development over the years has been joining the dots of all this data. So they know, as I said, when I want to buy something before I do. So going back to who you are as a person, they can spot unusual search activity. They can, so let's say I'm buying a new car, they can spot that, you know, Ilana typically doesn't look at car websites because
Mm-hmm.
I give two hoots about cars. But if I'm suddenly Google searching, you know, the Subaru XV car, if I'm going to the Subaru website, if I'm going to Ford's website, if I'm going to Volvo, Google suddenly goes, oh, hang on a minute, there's unusual activity here. She must be looking to buy a new car or a used car, etc. And all of those, they're called what's called in-market characteristics. So they can spot this unusual activity, and they can, and then that is a targeting metric by which you as an advertiser could use.
So when I, as an advertiser, when I want to take advantage of the Google Display Network, am I using it strictly for retargeting, or am I also using it to be able to use a Facebook term, to pixel people, to put them in my audience? And maybe the terminology is different.
You absolutely want to retarget people on Google. And that's one of the things I see all the time, because I help people all the time with their online advertising. And I meet people all the time who are doing a ton of traffic on Facebook ads. In fact, where we met in Miami, most of the people I spoke to, that was predominantly where they were focusing all their efforts, and outreach and lead generation was through Facebook ads, which is fine. No one's saying not to do that. But they were not retargeting people on Google, which is such a missed opportunity. So yes, you can buy Facebook ads, get those people to your website. On your website is the Facebook pixel and the Google pixel. And by getting them to your website, that is opening the door to retargeting on both those platforms. The beauty with retargeting on Google is the information that they give you. So say I go to your website today, and a week from today, and I leave not doing anything, you can obviously retarget me on Google. But what Google's going to tell you, it's going to tell you where else I went to on the interwebs after I left your site. What articles did I read? What blogs did I visit? What content do I read that you can use as intel in your other marketing? So to give you an example, because I find it's easy to conceptualize with examples. And the case study I kind of used in Miami was this. So we had a client who's in the home building industry. They sell bricks and whatever kind of home building equipment. Excuse me. And they get a lot of traffic, so we implemented a retargeting campaign. And we could see after they left this website, they were going to websites like ldecor.com and betterhomesandgardens.com and homebeautiful.com, which are home decorating kind of online magazines. They tell us that. They say, yep, you had this many impressions, you had this many clicks on these websites and this many leads. So then I start to think, well, hang on a minute. If someone's buying bricks and flooring equipment or flooring for their new home, of course they're going to these websites. They're renovating. That makes sense. They're looking for decorating ideas. So I can then say to Google, hey, Google, I want to show an ad on these websites for all their traffic, not just the people who've come to my website.
Mm-hmm.
Google's revealed to me that that's where my target audience goes. But the next step would be to say, hey, Google, I want an ad for all the website visitors that go to El Decor and Home Beautiful, etc., because I want more of these kinds of people.
And how does it does make sense? And how does doing that compare to doing the same thing on Facebook or the other platforms that are available?
It's just the next step. So it's not like an alternative. It's not like you're going to not do whatever you're doing on Facebook. It's just adding it to your campaigns or your advertising. So you test it, and if the cost per acquisition comes in at an affordable rate, which often it does, then it makes sense to that's another diversification of your traffic sources. But you can also take it a step further, where if that works, having a banner on that particular website, then it makes sense. Well, hang on a minute. If those readers like my offer or like my banner, it makes sense that I might target them on Facebook. So I don't have to wait till they're reading that article on that magazine. Those online magazines have a social media presence, and it turns out El Decor has 3.5 million likes, and Better Homes and Gardens got 5 million likes. I can then target them when they're not reading that article, but when they're scrolling through their newsfeed.
Mm-hmm.
The point is, it's just painting a very clear picture as to who exactly is your target audience, and then you're accessing them at various points for how they travel around the web.
So for brands who haven't yet really expanded much beyond Amazon because they're having success with Amazon pay-per-click, for example, their Amazon is maybe, 70%, 80%, 90% of their sales. And they're looking at building enterprise value, and they realize they need to diversify where their sales are coming from. They don't want to be too dependent on one channel rather. And these are probably going to be smaller brands that I'm thinking about. So resources are always constrained, and it's not like they have a big team of ad specialists and so forth. What would be some of the first steps that you would recommend that they take to begin that diversification?
Good question. So, I mean, I've got an Amazon product. I've been in exactly that same boat where I've been bootstrapping a brand new product, put my product on Amazon, and I was sending traffic straight to Amazon. But at the end of the day, Amazon owns that customer, right? Mm-hmm. So what I did and do for others, which has been quite effective, is just to build a very simple landing page on that particular domain that I bought for my business. Mm-hmm. And my ads are for some kind of offer where they go to that landing page. They have to enter their name and email address to claim that code, whatever discount code. That code is emailed to them, and then they claim that code. Why I want to do that is A, to build a database, number one, but two is to build a retargeting list. By sending them to that landing page, I then have control on what I do on that landing page. I can put my Facebook pixel and I can put my Google pixel on that landing page, and I can retarget people. And once I retarget people, obviously I'm going to get more sales, but I'm also going to learn more about who exactly these people are. Where do they travel online? What information do they consume? What presses their buttons in that respect? And I can build a profile of these people. Because I truly believe, like, at the end of the day, the person who wins with marketing is the one who truly understands their customers, you know? And so if you can, so for example, my product was in the sustainability and environmental niche for Americans, right? And I did exactly this for my particular product, and I really did it like just to test it on myself first before I did it for clients. And it's a product to help reduce plastic. So I did this, and I could see of the people that left my website, they were going to like motherearth.org website and treehugger.org or .com, I can't remember exactly. But these are the kinds of people who are motivated to click on my offer for my environmentally sustainable product. By implementing a Google retargeting campaign, I can see, well, where else do they travel on the web? And then I can apply that knowledge in other areas of my marketing. And I can target then treehugger.com on Facebook, etc. And it's the kind of thing that, like, you start somewhere. The best starting point is a retargeting campaign. And from that will seed ideas for other areas. And it's almost like where you end up, you never dreamt you'd end up there, but had you not started, you wouldn't,
Yeah, so I get the flywheel effect, because the more you go around, the more other data sources you get, the more top of funnel ads you can run. But you just said the best place to start is with retargeting. So I want to make sure that we don't skip past the details of this. So I sell this widget, I sell it on Amazon. I'm using Amazon ads, so I don't really have any traffic to my website, not in a meaningful way. I might get some organic traffic here and there, but I'm not running any campaigns. And you're telling me the very first thing I should do is retarget?
Well, that's why I said you send them to that landing page with that offer.
So let's stop there. So I'm going to need to maybe run some Facebook ads or some Google search ads to get them to go to my landing page to begin with.
Correct.
So I can pixel them, and then I'm going to retarget them.
Yeah, so that's one way. Another way which I've done is I've written content on that particular website, ran Facebook ads promoting that content, as well as Google display or the GDN ads promoting that content, just to generate traffic, to generate that retargeting list. Then I can pixel them and see where they travel.
Did you find that when you produced content and you ran an ad to content versus an ad to a traditional, e-commerce physical product offer, did you find that the clicks were less expensive?
The clicks were less expensive, but that didn't necessarily mean that they were interested in my product.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things that you need to test in your market as to how effective is that piece of content in filtering out people who are really going to be interested in your product. So in my particular product example, I had much better results sending them an offer than I did promoting content.
Yep.
But if your sole purpose is to understand your customer, then you might find that promoting content is the way to go. But for me, I was really just looking for the buyers that I can then upsell, cross-sell, etc. So I found running an offer for my particular product better. But you might find that both of those options are viable options and probably worthy of a test. And you'd have to see for your own industry.
And I would introduce a third thing that I would encourage people to test with my motorsports experiment. It never became a brand because I ultimately realized I didn't have the time to do it. I did a sweepstakes, and it was highly effective. I was able to get email addresses for 32 cents from Facebook.
Wow.
Because I was giving away a package of $500 worth of tools. And, had, for example, I moved forward with that and not ultimately decided to kill it, and had I been retargeting, I drove a lot of traffic to that landing page in a very short period of time, and was able to build, a 6,000 email list in 2 weeks.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you can upload that email list to Facebook. You can't you could do it to Google, but you need to have spent $50,000 in the lifetime of that Google Ads account. So you probably couldn't do it with Google, but you could upload that database to Facebook, create a lookalike audience from that, and then take it from there. We did experiment with sending Facebook ads to the Messenger bot to claim that coupon code, but we quickly realized, well, hang on a minute, we can't retarget on Google using that method, and we're limiting our retargeting options. And so therefore we stopped doing that pretty quickly.
Well, were you using ManyChat, or were you using some other tool?
I was using ManyChat, but I couldn't retarget on Google.
Really? Why not? Because if I'm putting up a landing page, WordPress site.
I didn't send to a landing page. It was just a Facebook ad straight to Messenger.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Because you could put a landing page with a mini chat
Correct.
engagement experience on the landing page, and you could pixel at that point in time.
Correct. I did not do that because I kind of wanted to be able to build that database.
Yeah. Yeah.
And have that email address. But it did occur to me. But yeah, I guess there's so many ways to slice and dice it. In my experience, I just found the easiest was to create a simple landing page on the website with a very simple opt-in offer. And I just found I make sure I email that coupon code to people as opposed to putting it on a thank you page, so that I would then get real email addresses rather than test@test.com, which was happening. Yeah. So the poor person who owns that test@test.com, I think.
Yeah, I've used that one a couple of times myself.
Me too. And then we satisfy the criteria of being able to retarget on both platforms, which is really, really valuable. And you can also, just to maybe confuse people a little bit more, you can then also retarget on YouTube because it's part of the Google ecosystem as well.
And so in order to be able to retarget on YouTube, you would have to have video ad content, obviously, to be a pre-roll.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Which is not a huge undertaking, but nonetheless good to make the distinction. So what are there any common potholes that beginners fall into when they're setting this stuff up for the first time? I'm sure there must be a couple things.
There totally are. There's probably two big ones. I don't want to bombard people with information, but if we remember these two, it will stand you in good stead. The first is to prevent Google from showing your ads on mobile apps. You've got kids. I've got kids, Trent. We've all seen our kids being on an iPad. They're using the free apps and the ads come up and they click on the ad and then they go back. And so you get a lot of inadvertent clicks by having your ads on mobile apps. And it's one of the sneaky default settings that Google puts in there, or I call them Google landmines as such, whereby it's designed to really make Google more money and you to spend money. So you need to prevent your ads from showing up on Google Apps, and it's a pretty simple setting. So that's number one. And number two is you also need to, there's also, quite a bit of junk on the Google Display Network. So we have a proprietary list of these junk websites that we've built up in our agency in the last 7 years, as these .infos and .xyz domains that are really junk placements, and also kids' YouTube channels that kids just click on the ads because they don't know what they're doing, etc. So we would also, I'm happy to make that resource available for your listeners if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you just simply copy and paste, upload this negative placement list to your account, and your ads will not be showing up on those junk placements. So definitely have those two factors in play. Recently, I audited a Google Ads account where they were allowing the mobile app placements in their account inadvertently. They didn't realize. And each of these clicks, one costs 10 cents, one costs 30 cents, one costs 5 cents. But there's literally millions of these apps. It added, the inner Excel geek in me needed to export it and do a quick pivot table just to work out how much they had wasted just on these mobile apps. And it was in the order of about $35,000 over the lifetime of this account. I mean, it was insane. So you definitely want to incorporate these two factors.
Yep. Okay. And all of this is done through what was formerly known as Google AdWords and is now just called Google Ads. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Google Ad platform gives you access to Google Search, the Google Display Network, Google Shopping, and YouTube. So it is a bit of a beast of an ad platform.
And are there best practices for campaign structure?
Definitely. Campaign structure is very, very important. It's the campaigns are structured similar to how they are on Facebook, where on Facebook you might be familiar with, you've got your campaigns and you've got your ad sets and your ads. It's pretty much the same on Google, where you've got your campaigns, they call them ad groups, and then within your ad groups, if you're doing search, you've got your keywords, and then tied to that are your ads. So it's the same kind of hierarchy, but structure is very important because you want to make for easy ongoing management and maintenance. So you structure it well so it's clear and you know exactly where your ads are showing and why, and also enables really good ad relevance. And that's sort of particularly true when you're doing the Google search network. The classic mistake that people make is they create one campaign, one ad set, and then in that one ad group, and within that one ad group they throw like 300 keywords that are not even related to each other. And the problem with that is that only one ad will show for all of those 300 keywords, and it's impossible for that one ad to be relevant to all those. That's right. So you get no way, exactly. So you need good structure to force good ad relevance, and then good click-through rate and good conversion rate.
So it would be normal then to have one campaign with quite a few different ad groups in it, all potentially targeting the same product, because there's different batches of keywords that you would be targeting with each of those ad groups. And then there's also whether they'd be search ads or display ads or that type of thing as well, correct?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you definitely separate your search campaigns from your display campaigns and from your retargeting.
Okay.
Yeah, but within search, you create very, very tight keyword themed ad groups, 5, maximum 10 keywords in an ad group. And that way your ad that is shown speaks directly to that particular keyword that you're bidding on. Because you might find different keywords, you want to talk about different benefits of your product. So yes, they might be going to the same place, or they might be going to a different place. But if they are, you just might want your ad to talk about different aspects to it, hence the different sort of keywords and sort of matching it that way. Does that make sense?
It does. So for someone who has very little experience in Google Ads, if I want to be able to split test one ad variations, targeting variations, and so forth, and I'm much more familiar how to do this with Facebook. What does that look natively? Can you do that within the Google interface, or do you need to use third-party tools?
No. Google actually is really good at split testing, way better than I find on Facebook, actually. Okay. What I find happens on Facebook is one ad will get way more airtime than another ad, and Facebook kind of quickly makes a decision which is the winning ad. On Google, there is a setting that you can say, by which you can say, do not optimize it, do an accurate split test. I want to give it to these 2 ads or 3 ads equal airtime, and therefore it's way easier to do an accurate split test. And the beauty with that is that you can apply that knowledge to other forms of your marketing. So if you find one ad talks about benefit 1 and so really sort of goes on about one of the benefits, and you're split testing that benefit 1 with a different kind of benefit, if there's a clear winner, well, that makes sense to apply that in other areas of your marketing, maybe your Facebook ads, etc. So it's a really good way to split test what moves people, and that's really important information that you can apply in, as I said, in other areas.
Absolutely. Okay. We're going to wrap up.
Okay, I was going to say one more point. The beauty with Google search especially is that it's the ultimate testing ground. You know exactly these people are searching for your product. They've literally just gone to Google and typed it in, So it's the ultimate, that's why I always say to people, it's the ultimate testing ground as to which benefit they prefer versus another one, because you've plucked out your ideal customer from the crowd by the mere fact that they've literally just typed it into Google. The sheer intent-based nature of the Google search network is such a good testing ground to see what moves them, as well as what landing pages converting better, etc. So we've had many clients in our agency come through where they know they're going to lose money on the search network because their product is not selling for high enough, or they're in an expensive industry, but they're buying that valuable data that's worth it to them, for them to apply in other areas of their business.
So being good at keyword research is a pretty important part of this entire process, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And you mentioned Ahrefs as your sponsor. I mean, they're really good at keyword research. So
they are indeed. And so for folks, I'm going to give a little plug to my own software platform. We have, so Flowster, which you can find at flowster.app. It's a platform for creating standard operating procedures for whatever part of your business that you want to systematize. And one of the things that we've recently launched is a marketplace where we offer both paid and free pre-made standard operating procedure templates. And we happen to have a couple, one in particular for Href keyword research. So if you're going to check out the tool on that $7 trial, and you've been listening to the interview that we've just been doing, thinking, hey, I want to try this stuff, and you maybe don't consider yourself a keyword research expert, we have a very specific SOP that will walk you through the best practices according to the Ahref team on how to do that keyword research correctly. And that's one of the things, because for my software, we've actually been doing some organic SEO as a part of our marketing. And we've both, my co-founder and I have both learned a great deal as a result of Ahref becoming a sponsor and us starting to use the tool. So before we wrap, is there anything, if you were interviewing yourself, given what we've talked about, and we've got one question left, what would you ask you? Have I missed anything is what I'm trying to understand.
Have you missed anything? I think we've covered a really good ground. I think if I were a listener and I would be wondering, I mean, the question that I would be wondering is, what's the best starting point, which we covered. And I say to people, start with a retargeting campaign.
Yeah.
But what I would say to people, which we have not touched on, is to make no assumptions, to test everything. So that's one. And number two is, with your retargeting campaign, to test different offers. As somebody who has specialized for the last 7 odd years in online advertising, the difference in an offer which people want, so an offer that converts very well versus one that doesn't, is like night and day. And honestly, it's that stark. So you might find that you're advertising an offer which is mediocre, and you think, well, pay-per-click marketing doesn't work for my business. You know, I would say to you, change your offer. Even slightly, even if it's the same end product, change it slightly, dress it up a little bit differently, call it something else, but change your offer, because it might just be how you've dressed it up that is not that enticing to people. So lots of people, it's kind of like the secret in the online marketing industry that people don't really talk about, as needing an offer that converts. And I can send the best traffic in the world to a page, but if people don't want what they are offering, then no amount of good traffic is going to work. Versus I can have an amazing offer, send mediocre traffic, and it will still convert really well. So if you're finding you're getting mediocre results, I'd say change your offer and see if that resonates with people, because once you get an offer that converts, man, you're away. You've made it.
Yeah, and using my sweepstakes as an example of just that, when I started, I put together my offer for the sweepstakes was $500 worth of power tools. It was a collection of different power tools. And while I was running that offer early in the campaign, I'm pretty sure that, if memory serves me, I was paying 55 or 60 cents for an email address. And then I decided to take that offer down and offer up a toolbox, big rolling toolbox, also worth $500. And the cost per lead went down by almost by half. And the conversions were obviously substantially better, even though it was the same $500 worth. And everyone was just going to get a Home Depot $500 gift card anyway, so they could have went and bought whatever the heck they wanted. But what you show them has a huge impact on their behavior.
Huge. And people don't realize it. And they almost take it personally, or they say, oh, Google ads don't work for my business. Yeah. I tried it, it didn't work. Well, actually, did you really test it? Did you test different offers? Did you test different creative? Did you test different headlines, etc.? That's the kind of stuff that you need to really test to then form the conclusion that it doesn't work. Because I think people come to that conclusion way too quickly.
Yep. Indeed. So for people, I know your agency is no longer accepting new clients because you're making the transition. You've got a new website if people are wanting, and I don't even know if you have any of your training stuff ready yet, or even if the website's live yet, but you said it's teachtraffic.something?
Teachtraffic.com. Yes, by the time this is published, it will be live. But I've run my online membership for the last 2 years now. I'm just putting it on a brand new domain. But it's been on my old website of greenarrowdigital.com.
Got it.
And yeah, so that was where I had my online membership and my agency. But now the new home for the online membership is at teachtraffic.com. And yeah, so you can go check it out there. Or if you like the stuff I talk about, I also have a podcast, which Trent, you're going to come on my show, which you said yes to, called Talking Web Marketing. So you can listen to Trent there.
All right, wonderful. Ilana, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you so much.